Greetings. This is the Citizen exclusive with Mpoki Thompson in Dar es Salaam as always. And today's episode is quite special. I'm at Mwananchi Communications Limited, which is where I work. I'm with the company's managing director, Bakari Machumu. This is a legacy interview. As some of you might know, Bakari recently announced his departure from the company. He will be leaving towards the end of August. So today the focus is going to be about his career journey, his contribution at Mwananchi, but media as an industry, media as a sector in general. Bakari, welcome to the Citizen exclusive.
Thank you, Mpoki.
Pleasure's all mine. So I finally get to interview you.
After a year.
Exactly. Now, this is going to be quite interesting because I am currently the managing editor of The Citizen, a role which you held for approximately 7 years. Now, that's going to be part of the conversation. But let us trace back from the beginning. You have close to 27 years, I would say, in media. You have held different roles. You studied agriculture, Sokoine University. How did you then pivot into becoming a journalist? It's very interesting to know what inspired you to get into journalism.
Interesting. It was rather an accident than an inspiration from anywhere. Having graduated from Sokoine University, where I majored in agriculture general. So, you know, before we were graduating, previously graduates from the university will get out of the university straight, they get employment. So we stayed in the streets like for 5-6 months. And then one colleague one day told me, why don't you try journalism? I said, me with writing? How come? And then they told me, you know, when we were back at the university, you were the minister for sports and culture. And at that particular time, you used to create these promo for people to go to entertainments across the region in Morogoro and what have you. And there's a way you use the art of writing those promos, which suggests that you have an inclination into writing. So I said, okay, let me give it a try.
Why English? Because we understand that the medium of communication in Tanzania is Swahili. Why particularly English?
Now, this colleague of mine suggested that there was an opening at the Business Times. The Business Times then was the talk of town when it comes to business and economic reporting. So the approach was different. They were taking graduates, taking people from different disciplines, and they were trained in-house. And this was the was being driven by Bernard Palela, one of the greatest minds in media. So he will take people, graduates, and then they will be taught in-house to practice journalism. So there was an opening. They linked me to editor Palela, and that's why I found myself in English and even business reporting.
So Bakari, you started as a business reporter for the Business Times, and then in 2004 you joined Mwananchi Communications Limited as editor of The Citizen. That's a business editor. And then in the year 2006 you were appointed managing editor of The Citizen newspaper. In the year 2012 you became executive editor. In the year 2020 you were appointed managing director. Now you have risen through the ranks at Mwananchi. Is this a vision? Is this a goal that you had? Had you ever, at any point in time, thought that you would one day lead this company?
Not at all. not at all. I think tracing back, been taking each step at a time. And when in whatever position I am, I've tried to do the best I can be, the best I can do. So looking at, when we were starting as journalists, business writers, you will compete from one another. If you don't have a lead story, you feel bad. So there are like 4 or 5 of us, myself, Leonard Mwakarebela, Adrian Njau, Titus Kaguo, Ibrahim Kiaruzi, and Dennis Msaki. So from time to time, you'll be competing to have the splash on the paper. So that competitive environment keeps you pushing to try and be the best you can be every time. And whatever position you are in, you give it your all.
Okay, so you were given, you were appointed managing director at a time when you were having thoughts of exiting the company, as you said. I don't know if it was in particular to exit media or whole in general, but when at that particular moment, when you knew that now you were supposed to lead the company, just tell us what was going through your mind, because a lot was happening within the media space, and now you're given this company to lead. What was going through your mind?
Bit of a mixed feeling. It was confusing and scary at that particular moment because we were in the period of COVID-19. In June 2020, end of June 2020, and then July is when my predecessor, Francis Nanai, announced that he was leaving the company. It was very abrupt, to be honest, because there was no kind of any hint or preparation for that. So, and having been planned that toward the end of the year, I should be exiting the newsroom, what was going in my mind was, I think I've done my part, and it's turning to be routine, and there are things I've wanted to do. I've kept postponing them. So I said, now, from where we are now, after COVID, and we are now reorganizing the newsroom, I said, maybe it's time now I leave it to someone else to come on. And then, boom, you're given an opportunity to lead the company. So at that particular moment, I had to consult with my mentors. I talked to the Balozi Juma Mwapachu. I talked to Balozi Ame Mpungwe. There's this thing, and I had my plan. I kept exchanging with them what I was looking to do. And they told me, now, you are going through a difficult moment as a company, the media in general, businesses in general. Francis has left, is leaving, and you and Francis have been working very close, and you are the next in line. So what will happen if Francis is leaving, you also follow suit? So what legacy are you leaving behind? And whatever you're going to do elsewhere, this will continue haunting you. So that humbled me, and I said, okay, there is an opportunity here. I've gained experience as a business writer, as a journalist. I've gained experience as a business editor, gained different experiences as a managing editor of The Citizen, at that time trying to build the character of The Citizen. And I've gained experiences now reading the entire portfolio of media outlets for Mwananchi as executive editor. Now, what is ahead is a completely different challenge, leading the business. I was leading a department, now leading 7 departments, editorial, commercial, supporting department, and what have you. So it presented a new challenge. So I said, let me give it a try. Let me look at it positively, because it will give me different experience.
Yes, indeed.
From
And you had come at a time, apart from COVID, there was a lot of disruption that had already taken ground in as far as legacy media is concerned. So that is broadcast and print. So you also had to figure out a way to ensure that there's this transformation from print into digital. So you had a lot to think about, a lot of options to weigh in. Let's go back a little bit to when you were at The Citizen. You were part of the core team, or a breed of reporters, a breed of editors who had analytical business skills in terms of reporting, in terms of editing. What is your comment on the status of business reporting in Tanzania today? Not just as at The Citizen, but business reporting in Tanzania. Is it still as analytical? Is it still as insightful as back when you were within the editorial team?
I think we've gone back a little bit. We have lost that ground to some extent. During that time, I remember we had a couple of great journalists who were, you talk of Business Times was still there, you talk of Financial Times was there, you talk of the East African, or also business-oriented. The African also was there doing some business. And then when The Citizen came, and of course Daily News, The Guardian, they all had sections for business. Now, if you look at where we are today, that space has shrunk. So with it also, we've seen a couple of good journalists in the space of media, moving on to different levels, higher levels in media or outside the media, and also seen a growing trend of such brilliant journalists, editors, now getting out of the industry altogether, into banking, into PR, into other international organizations. So there's been that breeding of talents and skills, and the replacement of that has not been that robust, so to speak. So there's a huge gap. You have a few who are still there, but the interest for upcoming journalists to still pursue business reporting is issues. So there's a challenge there, and to be honest, I don't know why. Maybe the fact that platforms focusing on business reporting, they've gone down. Number of them have gone down. So then the opportunities also are not there that much. Yeah. And that's also a bit of a difficulty kind of specialization.
Exactly. That is a particular challenge in media today. Specialized reporting in business or any other field is very hard to come by. Yeah. Now, let's look at some of the challenges that you faced when you were a reporter back at Business Times, when you were an editor within the newsroom. What were some of the major challenges, and do you see those challenges existing today? And how did you manage to address the challenges back in the days? And if you were still in the newsroom today, how do you think you would cope?
I think the challenges when we were writing then was we did not have to our disposal so much access to learning from others. Fast forward today, you have a lot of opportunities for learning new things, for understanding issues. So like back then it was more of analog, but now you have digital. You have every potential, opportunity if you want to learn something new. So then and now there's a huge difference. What will make someone move from one point to another is creating that interest. And knowing if you're going into business journalism or whatever form of journalism, where do you want to be? How do you want to be known the impact you want to make in whatever you're doing. Are you coming because I want to earn money, or are you coming because you want to impact the society in a certain way? So that purpose, I think that I've seen journalists, young and old, who have been in the industry, with that clear sense of purpose. They excel, they make a mark, they make a difference. So in terms of running the newspaper then, as an editor, the challenge was more of getting the complete story and getting them timely.
Okay, now another challenge which I believe you faced when you were executive editor and also part of your tenure as managing director is that you were leading a department as executive editor during one of the toughest period in as far as administration of the country is concerned. That was under the late President John Magufuli. And I want you to tell us candidly, how did you manage to navigate a period in time where media was being suppressed through regulations, through financial instruments? You know, the economic situation of the media was did not fare quite well under the former President Magufuli. How did you manage to navigate such tough times?
I think there's a saying that when things get tough, you tend to go back to the basics. And what are the basics of journalism? It's professionalism, fairness, balance, objectivity. So I took some time to understand, having been in the media for quite some time, what has been the source of the pain coming from stakeholders, be it government, being private sector, being individuals. What has been their pain when they see what we are doing, when they are not happy with it? What has been their pain? And I realized that whenever we were issued with a letter from the registrar, they always make reference of some anomaly. And they will want you to explain why didn't you maybe follow this law, the professionalism, blah, blah, blah. So it got me to appreciate that there will always be loopholes in whatever we do which can be exploited against us.
So is it the loopholes in what we do, or even loopholes in the laws themselves?
No.
Yeah.
The laws, if you have a law, good or bad, is still a law. You have it at that particular moment. So number one, you need to understand what the police says about whatever you're dealing with, what the law says about it, and then the regulations. So that understanding gives you room to understand, these are my boundaries. This is where I can push the boundaries. And when you're pushing boundaries, you have to know the limit. So with that understanding, then I realized that the loopholes we were giving authorities an opportunity to come after us was to do with professionalism. We are not doing our journalism in a completeness manner. Now, what did we decide to do? So it said we have to adopt a tactic of showing, not telling. I would say, Mpoki, you are wearing a gray shirt with a dark tie. Instead of saying it directly, I will describe your shirt. And the people will read between the lines, they'll get the message. So we developed that art of being within the confine of the law, the regulation, the policies, and they tried not to leave too many loopholes for us to be subjected to attacks. So yeah, that's worked to some extent. And the other thing which helped us, I am a fan of Nelson Mandela. He says, there's a quote where he says, people will embrace you if they don't see you, find you to be a threat to them. So our approach was always positioning us as a threat to the people we are dealing with. That was how we were being perceived. So we wanted to change that perception that media is a partner for development. If we are unveiling information, uprooting, explaining about the wrongdoings, we are doing that for the purpose of seeing that our country utilizes the natural resources well. Those in power, they have given that mandate on behalf of the people of Tanzania. So they have the responsibility of making the right decisions, and when they make wrong decisions, we have the right of stepping in and explaining. So that's kind of balancing, understanding where the pain points come from, and knowing the limits of the law, knowing how to push the boundaries, knowing the limits, and appreciating that at the end of the day, we should carry ourselves as not the people to threaten the government, business community, or any person. Rather, we are doing our job based on what we think should improve our
But then at the end of the day, you were practicing journalism based on the legal instruments or based on the confines that you were given. Is it your opinion that you handled the newsroom to the best interest of journalism as a profession and not the best interest of what the government wants? Did you ever at one point dance to the tunes of the government or compromise journalism at any level so that you may continue being on business?
Not at all. Not that I will call, because the way we operate, we encourage dialogue, we encourage consultation. So if I challenge you to demonstrate you have verified the story, and if you're not giving me good answers to that, because I know the repercussion of leaving these loopholes, I might say you don't have a story. So the way you perceive it, you might jump to conclusion that we'll put a stop, but we are pushing you to complete that story. Have a rounded story. Don't leave any loophole, because if you leave loopholes, you are exposing the entire business and the entire staffing of Mwananchi, 300 people plus. They have families. So the weight I'm carrying as a leader of the business is to balance the interest of the shareholders, balance the interest of the board, balance the interest of staff, balance the interest of government, balance the interest of... So the balancing there, if I push back to you, your story is sensational. You have two ways of looking at that. Either you see it as negatively, you resign and say, no, I've been stopped from practicing journalism. Or you take the challenge and you realize I need to do more to better this story, because we need to be there tomorrow and the day after to continue doing this noble job.
Okay. So media today, is it a business or is it a service that continues to hold the tenets of informing, educating, and entertaining the general public? Because we understand there's a business element to it, for that which makes it sustainable. What is your view about the thin line between media as a business and media as a service that tends to serve the public interest?
I think you can't get to a point of saying, separating the two completely. You can't say media is a business or media is a service. To me, the two, there is a pull and push effect. So what comes first? They complement each other. So if I want to give service, because media is a service, so may I say media is a business first, service second, and I'll explain. Yeah. Why do I start with business? Because I want to be sustainable. I want to continue offering this service. If we're a public media company, then we'll be getting resources maybe from the government or the public for that matter. But since you are a private media company, and being a subsidiary of Nation Media Group does not mean Nation Media Group, the parent company, gives subsidy to MCL to run its things. No. You have your business plan, and then you ask it, now go implement. You raise, get revenue, get income, invest in talent, research, work environment, so that you can produce and continue to be there. So I take it that we must appreciate, we must understand the business of media. Media is a business. The business of media is service. Media as a business need to be run like any other business. To be efficient, to be profitable, to continue being that going concern. Kwamba it will be there a year, tomorrow, and 10 years, 20 years to come. So the moment you appreciate that, you become efficient in the way you utilize your resources because you want to serve the public for a long time to come. But if I start by saying media is a service, the danger is I will not care about business principles. I'm giving service, and then at some stage, I cannot sustain myself. And then if I die as a media outlet, what good does that give to the public I am saying I want to save?
Indeed. Now, let's go back a little bit to the role of media. Media is the fourth estate. We are supposed to be the watchdog. You know, the government governs the citizens, and then we hold them into account. We vet, we check whatever it is that the government is doing. But then that comes at a cost. And one of the most potent costs that we have seen over the years is the disappearance of some journalists. We have reported on such cases as the Citizen, as Mwananchi, as MCL, as a media company. What is your opinion on that? Because our very own Azori Gwanda, unfortunately, is one of the victims. What is the status on Azori Gwanda? Have we stopped asking questions to the government? Have we stopped asking questions to anyone who might know his whereabouts? What is the status of the safety of journalists in Tanzania today? And how do we ensure that journalists continue practicing their profession in a safe environment? So these are two issues. Talk about the disappearances of journalists, including our very own, but then also the safety of journalists moving forward.
A disappearance of any journalist or any human being, for that matter, is not something people take it lightly. It's a bad experience. It's hurting to colleagues of these individuals, but more so the families. So talking about the case of Azori Gwanda disappearance, as a company, we do not know yet what exactly transpired. And as a company, we did what we had to do, started by supporting the family, calling for friend of the media to also join, and in doing so. And then we also called for the government. The government has the duty to protect, to ensure safety of its citizens. So Mwananchi Communications, the board has always put that demand that a thorough investigation is conducted. We get to know the whereabouts of what happened to Azoli, and they bring it to a closure. If you stay for years, the family don't know whether this person is alive or not. It's a heavy burden to carry for those many years, the company and the journalists as well. So our call will continue to be that we don't have the muscle, the capabilities of, and it's not our mandate to investigate, but the government has all the organs to do so. So our call will continue being that of asking, we need to bring this thing to a closure. So that's all we can say. But in terms of safety and security of journalists, as a company, what we've done and will continue doing is to educate ourselves. The first line of defense is for you to understand where you are in danger, what do you do, where you are in situations where your safety is at risk, what do you need to do? So that education, that preparedness of you taking control of the situation first is critical, and the government will continue doing that. And we are doing it in partnership with the other media organizations. And there have been a number of initiatives toward that. And in most of our media forums, we talk about these things. We just came from the annual conference of media organized by the Ministry of Information, Communication, and ICT. And this is one of the topics which was discussed. And the approach is still, you have to be mindful of and prepared on what to do first, but then you also need to bring in other stakeholders to work around this. The second question you asked about...
So now, which you've answered because it was about the safety and this disappearance. But just to add on that, you are the deputy chair of the Tanzania Editors Forum. So there are different institutions, different fraternities that serve the interest of journalists. However, one would want to know about the relevance of such institutions in protecting, in serving the interests of journalists here in the country, especially during such times where there needs to be a lot of concerted efforts. For example, during the disappearances, were such institutions, were such fraternities vocal enough? Did they come together to seek for answers? What is your view on the core role that is being played by these different media fraternities?
If you ask me, where I, as Bakari, and probably as Mwananchi, satisfied by the support we received from you're using, was it vocal enough? I think it could have been better. Could have been better. At some stage, we were feeling like it's a thing for Mwananchi and a few organizations, and we did not see that we came together to the level we would wished it to have. And that talks to the work that needs to be done yet, still need to be done, for these different media organizations to pull together all the time. We are pulling together in some instances, and there are areas where we are still not doing well.
Okay, so let's talk about the welfare of media. You talked about the conference, media development conference that was held in Dar es Salaam recently. You were part of the committee that looked into the economic welfare of media, but beyond even economics, just how does media in Tanzania develop moving forward? What is your view about how the government under the current administration is addressing some of the queries that have been raised by media? From the regulatory perspective, there's a lot that is yet to be addressed. Promises have been made. How satisfied are you with the pace of the government addressing such queries? And also on the financial scale, the government has promised that by December, all the debts owed to media need to have been paid. Do you think that the government is prioritizing the interests or the concerns that have been raised as media, considering the media plays a pivotal role in national development?
I think at times we might be too tough to ourselves, too hard to ourselves, and we get blinded and we don't see the progress we are making. I've been here in journalism for 27 years, and I've seen different patterns. What we are seeing at the moment, in Swahili they say, mnyonge mnyongeni haki yake mpe. What we see at the moment, there's a lot that has been done in a very short period of time. For us to move from position number 142, I think, to 96 in the freedom of media index is not a small thing. It's not a small thing.
Do you think that is visibly practical here in Tanzania?
I'm talking about Tanzania.
Yeah, I mean, those are
I'm
stats.
talking about, no, stats coming from where?
Okay.
Stats coming from where?
But
because whoever is doing that index,
yeah,
they have their parameters, which they measure over 180 countries in the world. So it is standardized, scientifically done. And they give marks from if you have done this, if you've done this, and they give you that. So practically, let's talk about the last time we were issued a warning letter from Maelezo. You are the editor of The Citizen now. When did you receive a letter from Maelezo?
Yeah, it has been a while. Yeah.
But that used to be a norm when I was executive editor. So there are these small things. We brush them off, but some of us never used to have good sleep. You're always on calls. You're always putting out fire here and there. There's that relaxation now, which now gives us even a more challenge as journalists. Sometimes I think in the past we've been reckless in the name of being daring. But if you look at the quality of what we've been putting out, you see there's some level of recklessness. Now, the challenge we have at the moment, the environment has improved so much. The danger we are having now is to take it for granted and forget that we need to up our game and continue doing so. If we want to compare ourselves within Mwananchi, within the country, I think we'll be doing ourselves a disservice. We need to compare ourselves. Where are we compared to Kenya, for instance? Yeah, above. Where are we compared to Europe? Where are we compared to the US? People want to see analytical pieces at the level of New York Times. So what it takes to produce journalism of the quality of New York Times, those are the things we need to be discussing now and engaging the government, the regulator, to create that environment. So we are talking about how do you make it easier for media as a business to operate so that they can invest in talents, they can invest in technology, they can invest in upping their game to give you the analysis you want. Madam President came to open the conference. And one of the challenge when she was receiving that report was there is huge gap when it comes to analytical reporting. We are simply reporting. So what I see at the moment, the environment has improved, yes. What are we doing about it? So what? It's an opportunity to engage constructively so that the working environment of the media improves, they get economic powers that can enable them to go to the level of the New York Times of this world in terms of journalism.
Okay. So on that front, what is your hope, or how optimistic are you about how media fares moving forward here in Tanzania? How media survives moving forward in Tanzania?
It scares me. It scares me. As you said, I am the vice chair of Tanzania Editors Forum, and I have the privilege of being in Nation Media Group, and being at the leadership level, I get to know what is happening in the market in Kenya through our parent company. I get to know what is happening in the market in Uganda through our sister company, Monitor Publication. And I get to interact with editors and media leaders in those countries. What I see in Kenya and Uganda, I think they are way ahead in terms of trying to find solution to what is hitting the media today globally. In Tanzania, I think we are still approaching these things in pockets of this organization, that organization, and there's not that common purpose. We've started talking about it, but are we doing it together, collectively, as an industry? Do we have a goal, a strategy that this is now a challenge? And the Economic Committee by Minister Nape, I think, is a good starting point. That report should now put a launchpad or a platform where now we should have this engagement, more tough conversations, and tell ourselves the truth. What I see, if we continue with this pace, because at times we say we are not doing well as a media because we are not getting government advertisement. We are not doing well as a media because the laws are not good enough. But 5-6 years back, we are talking about the same story, but looking at the numbers in Kenya in terms of newspaper and TV and what, in Uganda, they were falling the same way as the numbers were falling in Tanzania. So it will be a generalization to say media in Tanzania was not doing good because of the civic space being, shut down or rather squeezed. It is a contributing factor, but it wasn't the only reason media is not doing well. Because we are seeing trends in Uganda, in Kenya, taking the same pattern. So if we say the solution now will be, now if the government puts advertisement, if private sector, why do they put advertisement? What value are they getting out of it? Is it the question of just putting advertisements, you help this media also to get revenue, or you want to get value, return on investment? So our thinking need to be more, we are not selling advertisement, we are selling value. We are solving your problem. What problem do you have? What solution do you give you? That way, we can continue.
So, Bakari, as we're coming to a conclusion, you recently announced that you are departing from Mwananchi Communications Limited after 20 years. Was that a thought that you had at the back of your mind, that when it reaches a certain point, I will have to retire, I'll have to focus on other things? Can you take us through that entire process of you knowing that your tenure at Mwananchi is coming to a close at your own terms?
Actually, this is the third attempt.
Okay, interesting.
This is the third attempt. The first attempt was when I was managing editor, The Citizen. When I was running The Citizen, we had a team of experienced journalists. Some of them were retired, manning the quality control desk. And the work of the newsroom, you know it well, it is mchaka. That space is not something you want to live with for the rest of your life. It is very draining. So I remember seeing at times having to engage with some editors of the age of my father. And now you see, when you want to, when something has gone wrong, the page is not clean enough. If I'm dealing with you, Mpoki, I can shout at you. Yeah. But if you're dealing with a person of the caliber of your father, your mother, you can't shout at them. And then at times you see, they did not mean to mess up that job. It is edges caught up with them. So they are not that efficient. So that was an alert to me, an alarm. I gave myself a target that I should not be in the newsroom at the age of X. So when I was reading The Citizen, then I think the 7 years were started as a struggle, trying to create that character of the citizen. And then 5th year, 6th year, settling down. Now it has a character and it has its approach, which I must commend you. You have amplified it. Several editors came through, everyone did their part, and that DNA of the Citizen keeps going up and up and up. So at that point I said, I think now it is becoming routine. I am getting tired. I remember approaching my friend John Olanga then, told Bana, I want to leave. He said, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? I said, I don't know yet, but I want to leave. Talked to Balozi Mwapachu again, one of the other mentor. And then we said, no, give me 2 days. You can't leave. So luckily we were having a training session on leadership at the company. And then as a way of, everyone is asked to talk about where do they see themselves in 3 years' time. And me, I said, I think I'm finding myself I'm increasingly becoming redundant, because I see now everyone, the chief editor, news editor, section editors, they are on top of their things. So I don't have much to do. That week, the managing director then, Mr. Tido Mwando, calls me to his office and he gives me a contract to sign that you now take over as acting group managing editor. So the first attempt was dashed. They said, okay, now there's a challenge of leading 3 products, and we are going to elections in 2015. Let me see how I go through these challenges. Second attempt is one you talked about when I was executive editor, again 7 years, and then started seeing that I think I've done what I was able to do with my colleagues. It's getting routine, and I should now move on. Then boom, what happened, happened. But this time now, I said from July 2020, I was given a mandate to run the company at the acting capacity as MD. That normally takes 6 months. Toward the end of 6 months, the chairman called me and told me, no, Bakari, our procedure here, we are not going to just give you that position. It has to be competitive. So we are going to call for interviews, and we highly encourage you to apply. Don't take it bad, but take it positive, apply. So I did apply, went through the process of interviewing. That took like 2 months, 3 months. And then we finalized the interviews. And then in April is when I was announced that I'll start on 1st of May. Now as fully managing director. But the trend has always been every CEO or managing director of Mwananchi will be hired for a contract of 3 years, renewable, depending on your performance. So surprisingly or strangely, mine had no limitation. And my conclusion is probably because I was coming from within. So my contract was managing director, but it had no limit. And I said, this is not good for me, because I will relax. I will think I can be here as long as I want. So I gave myself 3 years after May 2021, when I started as a fully confirmed managing director. 3 years to help move us from where we were to come on top of waters, because the previous 4 years had not been good for us. So I gave myself a task of seeing how do I energize the team to build a foundation that will prepare this company for takeoff into the digital journey. So I had my 5, my 5 focus area was people. I talked about why this word running away from me? When you change buttons in leadership. Succession. Number 1 was people. How do we create a very engaged team? Number 2, succession. What do we do or ensuring that what we start, there are people who can come and continue with it. And then number 3, product. How do we create amazing products? And also, how do we embrace technology? And while we are doing that, how can we do it in a fun way? Kazi na dawa. Yeah, so I gave myself 3 months, 3 years to do that, and hoping that we turn the trajectory of revenue at the company, which has declined by 50% from 2015 to 2020, to at least have that graph start going up. And as I live, I feel blessed that that dream, that goal, together we have achieved it. We stopped the bleeding. We are now on the upward trajectory, but not at the pace we want to be, not at the pace the board will want to be, not at the pace the shareholders will want it to be. But we have a strong foundation from which now we can leapfrog to higher heights. We have managed to create, to believe inside and create a company, I think the biggest digital network company in Tanzania today in terms of audience and reach. The task we have not finished, we are not happy with, is now turning that to money, revenue, which can now get us to the comfort level where we believe that we are monetizing from our digital assets. In terms of the asset, we have 3 amazing websites. We have Rising Woman platform. We'll soon be launching an app which will come with features beyond just e-paper apps. That will go beyond that. I don't want to reveal the details now, as it is still in the final stages. We have a couple of social media accounts. We have e-papers still we are into SMS business. We have started a paywall system in our newspapers. You get to read some content for free, you get to pay for premium content. So all this has created this huge, huge network, digital solutions, which has created as a wide and the reach of Mwananchi. If you combine print and digital, we are reaching more than 24 million people or touch point every month. That's a huge audience. Now, the challenge that the journey need to continue is how now to grow digital revenue exponentially toward the group's dream, North Star, which says by December 2027, as NMG, Nation Media Group, we need to be doing $55 million coming from digital revenue, and touching different aspects of lives of people by $500 million every day. So break it down to Mwananchi Communications, we are saying by December 2027, you must be realizing $5.5 million and touching 7 million users. Not users, but I mean, I can go into Mwananchi website, that's one touch point. I go to Mwanaspoti, 2, 3. So we're talking about touch points, 70 million a day. That a Tanzanian, a diaspora person, wakes up in the morning, goes into the Mwananchi ecosystem of solution, stays there. They are satisfied. They get what they want. That is where this business is with that foundation. As they say, I can only say yajayo yanafurahisha.
Exactly. Yeah, the future looks exciting. So what's your next destination, career-wise?
Career-wise, looking at staying in the space of media and communication more, but more into how do I contribute into inspiring more leaders. My stay here at Mwananchi has taught me, and engaging with various stakeholders, that leadership is one thing that can solve a lot of problems. And sometimes when we talk of leadership, we tend to look at leadership at the level of the president, the minister, politician, CEO, headmaster. But leadership needs to be looked and nurtured at all levels. If you don't have a critical mass of leaders, leadership is about taking responsibility, being accountable, about delivering results. Now, if you don't create a good mass of people who can lead a small team responsibly, make it accountable, focus to deliver results, then if whatever vision you have at the top, it will be a struggle to have it translated down to the last person who is supposed to act on it. So I am looking at seeing what I can do in that space to at least have an impact in a small way. Whatever I can do to at least groom a few couple of youth, those people who are already in positions, but they struggle to find their bearing. The mistake we do most of the time is we appoint you Mpoki, managing editor, the Citizen, at the age of 28, and then we throw you deep end, we let you come back, and then you struggle to find your way. So I think that tends to take a lot of time, and we can save time if we can try and inspire people how to go about being effective.
Okay, well, Bakari, on that note, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Asante sana.
Asante. Yeah. You were with me, Mpoki Thompson, for the Citizen Exclusive. We were with Bakari Machumu, the Managing Director of Mwananchi Communications Limited. Until next time, that's a wrap.